Good afternoon, and thank you for joining me today. We are gathered on the traditional territory of the signatories to Treaty 7, and I acknowledge the Métis people of Alberta who share a very deep connection to this land. Yesterday, Premier Danielle Smith made the regrettable decision to engage with Tucker Carlson, a far-right conspiracy theorist notorious for pushing divisive and harmful rhetoric. Now, I'm not going to repeat the long list of outrageous statements made by Carlson in the past. However, knowing what Tucker Carlson stands for, thousands and thousands of Albertans signed a petition begging Danielle Smith to decline this man any opportunity to spread his misogynist, xenophobic, transphobic, or homophobic attacks in the place they call home. She did not listen. The Premier's justifications for participating in this event ring hollow. Carlson is not a credible journalist, and she was not spreading the good news of the Alberta economy to anyone who hadn't already paid to be in the room, or anyone outside of her extremist base, or anyone outside of the province. She did, however, garner international attention for our province for the specter of having an elected premier sit down with an extremist who regularly spreads conspiracy theories and hateful rhetoric. The Premier's actions, unfortunately, have sent a very disheartening message about our province to the rest of the world. At a time when many people, including investors, job creators, professionals who we are so desperately in need of in our workforce here in Alberta, are considering coming to Alberta as their new home, Danielle Smith sat across from a man moments after he promoted white supremacy and disparaged immigrants. Our province's strength actually comes from the diversity of our neighbors. We are better as a province because of our ability to embrace and welcome anyone who chooses to call Alberta home. This is the Alberta that we expect the Premier to showcase when the world is watching. So I call today on Premier Smith to reflect deeply on the consequences of her choices. I urge her to apologize for exploiting the office of the Premier in order to elevate the platform of someone like Tucker Carlson. I urge her specifically to disavow his harmful and dangerous views. And, most importantly, I call on the Premier to apologize to the Albertans who feel less secure and less welcome this morning because of her actions yesterday, and to instead reassure them that Alberta is their home. The Alberta NDP condemns everything Tucker Carlson stands for, and we stand strong against his kind of division and hate. To every Albertan who felt hurt or more vulnerable because of the Premier's decisions yesterday, I want to say this to you. You are a valued part of our community. Your dreams, your aspirations, your safety, your well-being matters to us. Our commitment to you is steadfast. We will continue to stand for the values of respect, inclusion, equality, love, and fundamental human rights. We will never stop fighting for what's just, and we will continue working tirelessly towards a future where every Albertan, in every corner of this province, lives the genuine experience of their inherent value. Thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions folks might have.
Thank you, Rachel. We'll now go to questions. Just a reminder for those joining us on the phone to use the *9 function, and for those on Zoom to use the raise hand function to get into the question queue. We'll first start with any questions in the room. No questions in the room. We'll go to the phones. Our first question comes from Kabi Mulatharan from Global. Go ahead, Kabi. Your line is open.
Hi there. Thanks so much for taking my question. Just want to make sure you can hear me.
Yes, I sure can hear you. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much. I actually want to ask a question in relation to the announcement this morning that the Premier was involved. And this is about Shoppers Drug Mart spending about $77 million to expand primary care spaces. I guess the question is in this sense, because in terms of accessing primary care, is this the right step knowing that the province is also not funding this announcement?
Well, listen, we know that pharmacists can help Albertans with their health care as long as they are given the opportunity to practice to their full scope of care. And so that's great. And we know that that can sometimes be a great help to many Albertans. But promise she made some time ago to support their practices and help them stay in this province. And as we heard just 2 days ago, not 1 cent of that money has flowed. We are also dealing with nurses who are having their positions actually threatened and who are being told that they cannot work overtime even when their care is needed by Albertans in our hospitals and our emergency rooms and our senior centres all across this province. So this government needs to be focused not on cutting corners, but in ambitiously supporting our public health care system so that real access to public health care and primary care is available to Albertans.
Do you have a follow-up, Cabby?
Probably not. No, I do not. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Our next question goes to Lisa Johnson from the Edmonton Journal. Go ahead, Lisa. Your line is open.
Oh, hi. Thanks for taking my question. Also a little bit off topic. I was just going to ask about the Shoppers Drug Mart announcement today. More specifically, I'm wondering what it says to you that they made this announcement while we're waiting, like the timeline of this, while we're waiting for a nurse practitioner deal to be announced and for that primary care model to come out, and while doctors are waiting for that money that you mentioned as well, that emergency funding. What do you make of the timing of this announcement?
Well, I think it's really a pretty empty effort to distract Albertans and to gaslight them. Bottom line is this government is threatening overtime of nurses. They are threatening layoffs of nurses. They have not flowed the money that was promised to family doctors. And of course, they're not moving anywhere nearly as quickly as this Premier promised with respect to the nurse practitioners. This is a Premier who promised Albertans she would fix healthcare in 90 days. And I believe we are now on about day 468. So this was part of an effort to distract from the very, very serious failures that are being driven by this UCP government.
Do you have a follow-up, Lisa?
Well, I guess I would ask, Minister LaGrange said something interesting. She said that this announcement really aligns with the planned reorganization that the government has coming for the healthcare system as a whole. And it's kind of a speculation question, but what do you think she meant by that?
Well, that's a really very good question, and we don't know because, of course, we've had very, very little transparency and accountability from this government in terms of what it is they expect to achieve through their chaotic decision to blow up Alberta Health Services. We know that this government has always had an interest in enhancing private funding of healthcare. And I do worry that this may be part of an effort to get people used to paying for parts of their healthcare. But, at the end of the day, what we know is that pharmacists have an important role to play, but our family physicians and nurses and many other frontline healthcare professionals within the public system must be supported. And the announcement today is just not a replacement for that, no matter what you call it, what you brand it. It's not a family doctor. It's not more nurses.
All right, we'll go to our next question from Catherine Kurgowski from Alberta Today. Go ahead, Catherine. Your line is open.
Well, thanks for taking my question. So while the Premier was on stage yesterday with Tucker Carlson, she did make a point to say that she doesn't agree with everything he says. And then she was asked about it today, and she said, well, since being reelected, I've given 96 interviews and held 24 press conferences, and I didn't screen anybody. So why is it not enough to say that she does not agree with everything said? Why is it important for her to list those things she doesn't agree with and apologize.
Well, first of all, let me say very clearly that this idea that he's a credible mainstream journalist is ridiculous. It's a false equivalency. I don't recall ever charging people $200 to come to a press conference, and so it's just ridiculous. He is a commentator. He's an extremist, and he is someone who peddles in conspiracy theories and deeply, deeply hurtful, damaging opinions. So it is important for her to completely pull out the issues that she disagrees with respect that he says, and to challenge him on them. If she's going to give him a platform that is strengthened by virtue of the office of the Premier in the province, the defense of Ukraine, and instead consider invading Canada. And then he made a point of saying, I'm not joking, I'm serious. What in heaven's name is the Premier of Alberta doing, sitting next to that person and saying, oh, I don't agree with everything you say? I don't care if she said that or not. That's ridiculous. This is dog whistle politics, and she is promoting hateful, divisive, extremist ideas in order to satiate a base that frankly has way too much influence in this Premier's government.
Do you have a follow-up, Catherine?
Yeah, speaking of those dog whistles, there was 4 Liberal ministers today who spoke out about this, saying that the Premier was sicking the MAGA dogs, summoning the MAGA dogs on, specifically Minister Stephen Guilbeault, as the Premier said yesterday that Tucker Carlson should put crosshairs on Stephen Guilbeault. I'm wondering what your response is to that. Whether it be like what the ministers are saying or what the effect is when politicians make comments like that.
Well, again, I haven't seen what other politicians have said about it. What I will say is when a Premier of a province stands up in a room and publicly encourages somebody to put someone in their crosshairs, when that person is so clearly aligned with people who have engaged in violent insurrection in their own country, that is, I mean, it's not irresponsible. It just doesn't befit somebody in the position of the Premier's office. It essentially challenges the rule of law, which of course is a habit with this Premier. She has an incredible disrespect for the rule of law, and through that, an incredible disrespect for our democratic system.
And we'll do one last pass for questions on the phones and in person. And with that, we'll... Oh, Tim, your hand up. Tim Bruck. Tim Bruck from CTV, your line is open.
You guys got me now, probably, eh?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, Zoom sucks. You mentioned there, Rachel, that you believe that Danielle Smith is strengthening Tucker Carlson's platform by, going to chat with him, exposing some of her voters to some of his rhetoric. Wouldn't you, or couldn't you rather, make the argument that you and some of the federal ministers today that are talking poorly about this man and about how dangerous he is are also strengthening his platform, given the fact that he essentially thrives on this negative feedback and on this publicity?
Well, you are absolutely right that he does thrive on it, and it's a pretty sick model, and that's a really good question. But here is what drives my presence here today. Literally hundreds of thousands of Albertans woke up this morning to discover that the Premier sat beside somebody who claimed that immigrants diluted the Canadian culture, and who of course has made a number of homophobic, transphobic, discriminatory comments. So I'm here today to say that that is not okay and that this doesn't reflect who we are as Albertans. And our Premier is deeply out of touch with the mainstream views of Albertans. And I want those folks to feel safe and secure in this province. And I want those folks who are thinking about coming to this province to know that it is actually a place for them.
Do you have a follow-up, Tim?
Yeah, just a quick one. I mean, maybe an obvious question here, but in your minds, can you explain for our viewers how it's different when Danielle Smith answers a question from me and when Danielle Smith answers a question from, let's say, Tucker Carlson or one of the quote-unquote alternative media sites like The Rebel, for example?
I would argue that the mainstream media still holds itself accountable to proven facts and engages in a level of objectivity, but in either way connects their questions and their analysis and their pursuit of information from the foundation of commonly understood facts. Tucker Carlson is a conspiracy theorist who peddles in lies. And so he's not an accredited member of any media organization. He is not an objective presenter of the truth. He is someone who is promoting a very, very extremist, dangerous, hurtful, and injurious vision of the world.
And we'll do one last pass for questions again on the phones or in person. And with no further questions today, we'll wrap this press conference. Thank you, folks.